Hello, everyone. I hope I'm audible to you guys. If yes, please drop a yes message in the chat box so we can proceed further. Okay, let's get started. So, Galvanize Global Education. We change lives, your trusted partner to fulfill your dream of studying abroad. So, what does Galvanize offer? Galvanize offers end-to-end personalized solutions for students and working professionals aspiring to pursue a global degree abroad. We help with profile building, test preparations, and admission counseling. The team is managed and founded by Stanford, IIT Madras, and IIM Ahmedabad alone. So, without wasting your time, here's your host, Dr. Jayanthy Ramakrishnan, a PhD graduate from University of Tennessee, and she heads the servicing at Galvanize Global Education. At Galvanize, she closely works with the editing and the strategy team to ensure the students are getting the best deal possible. Having studied in the US herself, she has first-hand experience of what universities consider a good application. First impression matters more than you would realize in the admission game and should help you to make the best first impression with a stellar application. Note, she has also got a 100% scholarship for her PhD at University of Tennessee. So here you go, Jayanti ma'am. You can start the session.
Thank you, Sahil, for the introduction, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining the session today. I'm really glad to see so many people here, and I'm excited to share information with you guys. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so while the title of today's session is scholarships, I also want to give you some basic information about the admission process. Some of you I see are, returning students, and I'm very glad that you decided to come back and join us for more sessions. But for those of you who are attending for the first time, I would like to give you some more information in general about the admissions process first, and then go on to talking about scholarships. Okay, so I'm assuming that most of you who have come here have decided to study abroad, that is, go and pursue your education not in your home country, but to one of the more lucrative countries like US or Europe or Australia or something like that. So the reason why we normally look for studying options are not in our home country is we often feel that the opportunities that are available are less here. So we do know that if you go abroad and pursue an education, you get much more of an exposure. You meet people from different countries, different cultures. You learn the culture of the country that you are studying in, and all that gives you the global exposure and better opportunities after you finish your education. One of the things that we know about, especially about when you study in India, is that the practical training is less. Of course, it is changing now in many of the universities in India, but compared to the US, for example, the emphasis on practical training at the UG level is quite low. There may be some universities where that is not the case, but in general, this is the trend we have observed. So, whereas abroad, everything is kind of connected either to the industry, or the professors are connected to the industry, or you have industry people coming in and teaching you classes. So all of that, there is a lot of emphasis on actual training and applying what you have learned in the classroom in the real world. Of course, we all are aware that any cutting edge technology and research always seems to be coming out from countries like US first and foremost, and other countries like Japan and so on. So we want to be there. It's always everybody's dream to be in the midst of things where things are actually happening. So that is one more reason which motivates many students to explore options to study abroad. Of course, we also know from facts that the people, the experts in the field or the top people in every field are always from countries like US and so on. So of course you want to be, and if given an opportunity, you want to learn from them. The job opportunities are also more, obviously, because when all of this is available, then the options to use those things, the opportunities become are also more in these countries. And obviously, being in the right place, you will get a right compensation as compared to what you would make in your home country. So these are some of the motivational factors for a student to study abroad. Okay. Now, I'm assuming that since all of you have come here to attend a scholarship session, you may already know what is required for the application process. So I'm just going to quickly run through this slide so that you have an idea. And then, we can get into more details about the scholarship. So first and foremost, academics is, there is no compromise on that. You have to have very good academics. You have to, if you really want the top universities with scholarships, and or even if you want to be eligible for the external scholarships that we'll talk about, you have to have excellent academics. So there can be no compromise with respect to the academics that you have. Now, all of this, along with academics, work experience, that is not necessary depending on the field that you want to go in. For an MBA, for example, it's advisable to have some work experience. But if you're going for a master's, it's not necessary. So it's entirely dependent on the degree that you want to apply. Now, whatever you have, you need to highlight it very nicely in your CV or your resume. So that is one of the documents which is like a window to your profile. The admissions officers get thousands of applications. So they don't have time to, read a very long resume and all. So they'll give a quick glance. So you want to make sure that you highlight these points very well on your resume. Of course, you may need to take the standardized test like the GRE. Again, depending on the program that you want to apply, the GRE may be waived. But many universities after in the post-COVID times have started reinstating GRE because of its importance. For a student whose academics is not that great, the GRE will act as a profile booster. So you definitely want to take it if you can take it. TOEFL and IELTS is also necessary for international students. It basically measures your English proficiency levels. So even if you have studied in an English language, in medium of instruction is English, it's some of the universities may not require it at the application process, but many of the countries require it at the time of the visa process. So you want to make sure you get that taken also. Important thing about TOEFL and IELTS is it's only valid for 2 years. So you want to make sure that you take it just a year before that you're supposed to go. That way, even if you decide to defer your admit or even if you decide to postpone your intake a little bit, you're not going to have to retake it. So it's very, very important that you take it just before you start applying. Essays. Now, essays is something where you definitely want to elaborate your experience, your motivation, why you decided to study this, why you decided to study abroad, first and foremost. Why didn't you want to study in your country? What are the factors that instigated you to pursue this journey? You want to talk about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. All of this gives the admission officer an idea of who you are. See, because they can't meet you. Some of nowadays, certain top universities also require an admissions interview, but not all of them do. So you definitely want to make a very good impression through your essays in your application. So you definitely have to talk about those things. Letters of recommendation. This again is very important because whoever is giving you an admit, especially when they are also giving you a scholarship, they are making an investment in you. So they want to make sure that whatever investment they make is a wise investment. And for that, they are looking for somebody to vouch for you, somebody to say that, yes, this is a good candidate. This is somebody who will do well in your program. And that is something that they want from professionals who have interacted with you, who know you well. So you need to get letters of recommendation either from your professors if you're still studying. If you have done an internship, then you could get it from an internship manager. If you're working, then you can definitely get it from your work manager. So these are some of the people that you should shortlist for your letters of recommendation. Basically, people who can vouch for you, people who can talk about you, talk about your qualities and praise you in a professional manner. Okay. Co-curricular activities are the activities that you do along with your studies, something that will boost your profile. So if you're still a student, but if you have done internships during your summer months, that is definitely something that you should highlight over there. One more thing that I would like to add, which is not there in this list, is to bring in some diversity. So if you, all the universities abroad look for diversity in their student population, they want to make sure that they get the best talents from all the countries. So in order to do that, if you're able to bring some diversity, if you're able to bring some part of your culture and your background into their student population, then that is definitely they want something to look for. So having said that, if you have done some special activities, if you have worked for some NGOs, if you're a if you're a state level badminton player, state level football player, those are kind of things that will add to your profile as well. So if you have any of those qualifications, you should definitely highlight that as well in your application package. Okay. Okay. I also want to briefly talk about the timeline that you need to follow. It's already the end of September. So you want to make sure that, you are kind of in this table that I have showed you. You are somewhere, around plus or minus here or there, not very far off. Okay. So ideally, if I were to say, you need to start your study abroad journey at least a year, definitely maybe around 15 to 18 months before your target intake. So that means if you are targeting fall 2025, then you should have definitely started your process in the summer of 2024. Okay. So that is something you definitely want to do. Okay. Of course, if you have the time, if you have already planned ahead, if you have already said that, I know that I want to go abroad, then you can even start as early as 2 years before your target intake, which will then give you enough time to do some profile building, take the GRE at leisure. You don't have to hurry and take it. And then coming to the year that you want to do the application process, you will start with your TOEFL, IELTS exams. Right now, you will be in the process of completing your SOPs. You will be drafting your university specific essays, your scholarship essays, and so on. And beginning in the month, end of this month or beginning of October, you will start doing the application process. Okay. So that is how it is going to be, because generally the deadlines in US and Canada start from November and go all the way to Jan Feb. There are some universities which have deadlines later on also. You can even target those, but it all depends on which universities you are planning to apply to. Okay. So that is the application process. Once you have finished all your applications, in the month of February, March, you will start receiving your admit information. Once you have that, if you have gotten a scholarship, well and good. Otherwise, you have to start preparing and, making your finances ready. And then finally, you will be ready for the visa process. Okay. So once you have your visa, then you are good to go. So that is the fall 2025 timeline. Now, for those of you who are not targeting 2025, but you're also targeting fall 2026, then it's a perfect time for you. You can start working on profile building right now. You can start working on doing your GRE. And then early next year, you can finish off your TOEFL, IELTS. And in the summer of next year, you can start working on your essays. So the earlier you start, it's always better. Even though the good thing about PG, masters and PhD applications is most of the countries you can apply as soon as at least 9 months prior. There is no rule that you only can start applying after a certain date. So the earlier you apply, the better chances you have of getting an admit, the better chances you have of getting a scholarship. So you definitely want to make sure that you start the process early. Now, having said that, those of you who are targeting fall 2025, you still have enough time. You don't have to think that, oh, I'm late in the process and, give up. But you will still be able to make it if you just hustle and do things quickly. Okay. Okay. Um, Let's talk about the process. So this is again a summary of what I already talked about. So you do the test preparation, you do the university shortlisting, you do the application. In parallel, you can be working on your profile if you have time to do that. If you don't have, then you straight away jump into the essays and the LORs. So it's not entirely a linear process. You need to work on your shortlisting. On one hand, you need to research your universities and make sure you're in time for the application process. At the same time, you also have to make sure that your essays and your university specific essays are all ready. So this is the process of the application. Okay. Now, how can Galvanize help? I just want to include this part before I start talking about scholarships. So what happens in Galvanize is that when you enroll with us, we will do a thorough analysis of your profile. We will understand what are your requirements? Why do you want to study abroad? What are your interests? How are you going to plan for this? So all of this will be done during the onboarding process via a profile evaluation call. Once we have understood your profile, we have the necessary test scores, we will be able to provide you with a university shortlist. And the shortlist will be categorized as ambitious, practical, and safe. Now, the reason we do that is we want to make sure that you get to fulfill your dream of studying in a top good university. But at the same time, everybody may not get into a top university. So while we want you to aim for the top universities, which will be categorized as ambitious for you, we also want to make sure that you have a good chance of getting an admit. And those are the universities that will come in the practical and safe category. So we will give you a shortlist which will be categorized this way. Now, once this is done, the counselor will sit down with you, talk about the options, and then finalize which are the universities you actually want to apply. While this is happening, you will have a separate editing team which will help you draft the essays that are needed by the university. Now, I do want to point out that like many other counseling agencies, we don't write the essays for you. We get the inputs from you because it is your story that has to come out. It is not our story that has to come out. So it's very, very important that whatever you have to say comes out, which is why we ask for inputs from the student. We will give you a questionnaire where we will ask you various kinds of questions. And at the end of it, you will see that a very nice SOP comes out of it. So even though our team will edit the SOP, will draft the SOP, will make it look nice for you, the original thought is going to be everything from you. So this is very important because in this day of AI and all the AI tools that are available, it is very important that we don't do a AI generated SOP, because universities have plagiarism checkers to catch all of these things. So we want to make sure that you are not in any such kind of trouble. So that is something that we really emphasize with our students, that your essays have to be a story about you. Okay. Now, once we are done with the essays and the application process, hopefully you will get a bunch of admits, and then we will help you narrow down which admits are going to be useful for you, which are the ones that you should really think about and go ahead. Once that is done, we will help you with the visa process. Now, similarly, at the same time, in parallel to the visa process, some of you may get assistantship from this college, some of you may not. So, if you are planning to go for an educational loan, we also have options for that. So, we will also help you with those things. And then, of course, pre-departure, we will give you a nice pre-departure session where we will inform you about the things that you need to be aware of, the things that you need to make sure you have before you go to your dream university. So this is the process followed by Galvanize. Okay. Now, moving on to the main topic of the day, let's talk about the scholarships. Now, what you all have to understand is there are various types of scholarships. Some of you may already know about this, but let me talk to you and give you the information. One is the university specific scholarship. So these are the scholarships that are given to the student by the university. Again, this entirely is a merit-based scholarship. Okay. Now, some universities have some policies that no matter what program you're in, you will get some basic scholarship. That is the way they attract students. And the programs are good, so students also want to go there. The other scholarships are the need-based scholarships. Now, this is generally for the undergraduate program where they look at your family income and then decide whether they need to give you any scholarship or not. Okay. The merit-based scholarships are the ones which is entirely based on your profile, no other reason. They look at your profile, they see that, okay, it's a really good profile, we need to have this student in our department, and that's when they'll give you the merit-based scholarship. Now, if you don't get any of these, there's no need to worry. There are a lot of privately funded scholarships which have been set up by various companies, various trusts in the country, which you may be eligible for. Okay, so these are some of the options that you have to look at. Now, before we talk about the external scholarships, when I say about external scholarships, I'm talking specifically about the privately funded. When we talk, before I talk about those, I'm going to give you a brief run through of the universities based merit based scholarships as well. Okay, so that you have an understanding of that. Now, so based on the program that you want to go to, the scholarships are also dependent on that. Now, what we have seen being in this area for the last few years, we have observed that most of the time PhD students get 100% scholarship. That is, their tuition is waived as well as they get a stipend every month to take care of their living expenses. So that is the best option that you can have, obviously. Now, masters again is very selective. It entirely depends on what your profile is and what the university needs. So if your profile is very good and you apply to universities which are in your range, then there is a higher chance of you getting a scholarship in a master's program. But it doesn't mean that if you don't get a scholarship at the time of admit, you will never get a scholarship. You can always go to the university and then get a scholarship. So I'll also talk about that when I talk about the RAs and the TAs. Now, an MBA program, yes, it's very difficult to get a scholarship because the MBA is a very costly program, and also the returns, the ROI is very high on these programs. So the universities want to make sure that they get the best of the students, and they want to make sure that those students are capable of paying. So there is very, very less chance that you will get a scholarship in a MBA program. But you can definitely try. You can definitely there are scholarships that are available. I wouldn't say that it's not there, but the chances of getting are not very high. Okay. Now, so the types of scholarships that are given are the fellowships, the research assistantship, the teaching assistantship, and just a tuition waiver. Now, the tuition waiver, just like the name sounds, it's just that you don't have to pay the tuition, which is the majority of the money that you have to pay to the university, but your living expenses have to come out from your pocket. So then entirely depends on how frugally you live, how you are able to manage your finances. And so that is what a tuition waiver is. A teaching assistantship, I'll explain. Let me move on to this. Before I explain though the fellowship, RA and TA in the next few slides, I do want to mention that all the universities offer on-campus jobs. Now, based on the country that you're going to, there are some rules and regulations that you have to follow. For example, in Australia, in the US, you can work 20 hours on campus during school year. And in the summers, you can work 40 hours, but you can never work off campus. Okay. Whereas in Australia, you can work 20 hours on campus, and when the school is not in session, that is the summers, you can work anywhere off campus. Australia also has the most flexible rule. For example, if you take a dependent along with you, if you're married and you take your spouse with you, your spouse can work off campus, but your spouse cannot work on in US. So these are some of the rules and regulations that you have to follow if you are an international student in that country. Now, internships and co-ops are something that is available uh, as a part of the program, as in if you're a master's student, in the summer term, you normally don't take classes, but you're free to apply to internships and work in some company. That is allowed. So as long as the program is related to what you are studying, you are still allowed to do that. So that is the other way to make money. Now, the on-campus jobs and the off-campus jobs in some cases are not going to cover your tuition entirely because they don't pay that much. Many of these jobs are minimum wage pay. So it's just something that will assist you in taking care of your living expenses. So please keep that in mind. You also have to remember that anytime you're working not on something that is not related to your studies, then that is time that you are taking away from your studies. So for example, if you're in the US at a university and you don't have any assistantship, so for example, you work at a cafe on campus, the whatever hours that you are spending working in the cafe, some is the time that you are taking away from your studies. So that is something, again, many students don't want to do because they want to focus on their program. So these are some of the decisions that you will have to make when you go abroad and study. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at the fellowship. So the fellowships are merit-based scholarships awarded to a student based on their academic excellence. That is, if you have an excellent academic background before you go abroad and the university recognizes it, then they are ready to give you a fellowship. Now, obviously, this is the best option that you can have because you don't have to do any extra work for it. You can focus on your program, you can focus on your studies, and you need not be worried about any financial constraints. The beauty of the fellowship is that you get to choose what kind of research you want to work on and focus your entire time doing that work if you are in a research based program. If you are in a master's program, which is a non-thesis program, and you have gotten a fellowship, then all you have to do is focus on getting good grades in your courses and finishing up the master's in time. Some examples of the fellowship, other than the college, university awarded fellowship program, some examples are the Fulbright program and the AAUW International Fellowships. I'll talk about both of these fellowships in detail in my next few slides. Okay. So here I want to show you an example. So this is actually the founder of Galvanize, Pavitra Srinivasan, and she has completed her master's from Stanford University in electrical and computer engineering. And she was offered a fellowship when she got an admit there at Stanford. Okay. Now a research assistantship. Now this is also one of the best options that you can have with respect to fellowship. Now, the reason being that if you are in a master's program or even if you're in a PhD program and you get an RA or a research assistantship, you work on a research which becomes a part of your thesis. So it's not that you're working on something that is not going to be useful. No, this research is needed for you to complete your master's or your PhD program. So working as an RA, you work under a professor or you work in a lab, and the RA will take care of your living expenses. So most of the times an RA comes with a full tuition waiver. That is, you don't have to pay any tuition fee, plus you get a monthly stipend. Okay. And what you have to do for that, you have to work with the professor, you will be working on some research, or you have to work in a lab depending on the program that you are in. And any work that you do will count towards your thesis when you are ready to graduate. Okay. So an example of an RA is one of our students who enrolled with us for the admissions counseling process. She had a master's in organic chemistry from the Indian Institute of Science of Education and Research. And if you see her profile, she has an 8.67 GPA, which is very good, and a good TOEFL score. She had the necessary experience in research as well as a project intern, and she was able to successfully get a PhD admit in chemistry at Purdue University, along with a research assistantship of 26,000 US dollars. That means she got a tuition waiver, and a monthly she would get a stipend which would amount to $26,000 per year. Okay, so that monthly stipend would take care of her living expenses, her rent, her food, her groceries, and things like that. Okay, now a teaching assistantship. Now, this is the next best thing that you can get in a university. While you don't work on your research, you do end up teaching an undergraduate class, or you end up doing managing a lab for a graduate class, depending on what is offered to you. So this again, you are a teaching assistant to a professor. So a professor, if he has a large class that he is managing, he will need a grading person. He will need somebody to conduct the labs, or he may need you to go and teach a class. So these are some of the options that you will have. And so here you will have to manage your classes. You will have to manage your research work, because you will be working on your research to complete your degree. In addition to that, you have to take classes. Okay. So this is something that I had done initially in my first couple of years of my master's and PhD. In addition to working with a professor, I was also a teaching assistant at the math department in my university. So I had my courses, I had my research. In addition to that, I used to teach a calculus class for undergrad students. So you have to basically plan your time so that you are preparing for the class that you're going to teach. You're also not falling behind on the classes that you are taking, as well as you want to make sure that you are also working on your research so that you graduate on time. So this is a little bit of an hectic thing that you have to take. But if you have any dreams of become going into academics after your degree, then this teaching assistantship will definitely give you that teaching experience, and it will be a very enjoyable process. So again, it's depends on entirely on what you get. Now, one of the requirements of a teaching assistantship is that you have good English language skills. So you want to make sure that you ace your TOEFL or your IELTS, because if you don't have a good score, and when you go to the university and they require a teaching assistant, and if you don't have the necessary English proficiency, first of all, they may not give you that option, or they may ask you to take English courses over there so that you become ready to teach. So that is why it's very, very important that you do very well on the TOEFL and IELTS course, so that, if you are able to get the English requirement waived after reaching the university, you may be eligible for a teaching assistantship. That again varies from university to university, but I just want to make sure that you guys know the importance of the TOEFL and IELTS as well in this aspect. Okay, so here I have another student, Anushi, who recently, I think last year, fall 2023, she started her PhD program at Texas A&M. A very good GPA, average GRE score, good IELTS score, and she was able to get a teaching assistantship. And she was interested in doing a PhD in public health. So she got a full tuition waiver and a monthly stipend of $2,250, which is more than enough to take care of your rent, your food, your groceries, and some miscellaneous things, your utilities. And you may still have some money left over to save if you are frugal and if you plan your budget. Okay. Okay, so to summarize, we have realized that to get a RA, or any fellowship from the university, you need to have a good GPA, GRE, and a TOEFL score. You need to submit a impressive statement of purpose, have good letters of recommendation, have a good profile. That is, whatever you are able to do during your undergrad or your masters, build your profile very well, and make sure all of this is highlighted very well in your application package. Okay. Okay. Now let's move on to financial aid from external parties. Now, if you're not able to get anything from these universities and you just have to end up paying full fees, you're also not keen on taking an educational loan because then you have to pay it back. Then you have to look for options of financial aid from external parties. So I'm going to list a few here. One thing I do want to tell you guys is I'm not I'm going to give you information about the scholarship, about what is involved there. But to get the actual process, you guys will have to go to the website of the scholarship and get the latest information. So whatever information I'm giving you today is latest as of now. That is, we have checked the information. But I am not going to be telling you about deadlines and stuff because that is something that can vary at any time. And I don't want to give you the wrong information. So I'm going to give you information about the foundation, what is the type of scholarship they offer, what is the duration, if there are some specific courses, and if there is some specific criteria. The actual application process is something that you will have to go to the specific foundation website and start doing. Okay. So let's talk about the Inlak Sivdashani Foundation. Now, this is a foundation that is founded in India by Vinu Sivdasani and his wife Lakshmi a few years ago. And they have awarded over 500 students with overseas scholarships. That is, they have awarded scholarships for studying in India, but also for over 500 students have got this for studying abroad. Okay. Now, they normally fund students who have got an admit in UK, Europe, or US in one of the top rated universities. And your course duration can be as low as 9 months. So because UK offers some of these 1 year degree programs, so you can also, this is also eligible for that. And it can be up to a maximum of 4 years. Now, what is the value of the scholarship? That entirely depends on which country and what is the program that you're going in. So if you're going, so they have a maximum of 100,000 US dollars is what they'll offer. Anything above that will have to come out from your pocket or from some other source. Okay. Now the requirements for this is that you have to be a Indian passport holder. Now I know that there are a few international students who are attending these sessions. Not all of the scholarships that I mentioned are for Indians, but a few of them are. So I'll make sure that I point it out to you guys. Okay. The very important thing about the scholarship that you have to note is that it is only available for the students who are pursuing a degree in the field of social sciences, humanities, law, fine arts, architecture, and related disciplines. It is not for students who are pursuing a degree in engineering. So I just want to make sure that these are some of the nuances that you have to look into each of the scholarships. Okay. Not everything is going to be available for everyone because they also have to have some criteria. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to award these scholarships. So these scholarships generally open in February. So by the time you apply for this, you may have already received an admit from your university. So that helps you in understanding whether you will need the scholarship or not. Okay. Okay. The Fulbright Nehru scholarships. Now, the Fulbright program is from the US. It's basically a scholarship from the US with a bunch of more than 150 countries. And again, the eligibility for this scholarship will vary from country by to country. So I am going to talk specifically about India, but for the international students who are attending the session today, do note that these scholarships may also be available in your home country. So you just have to Google Fulbright scholarship and you will know what is the requirement for your country. Okay. Now, this is one of the largest educational scholarship programs that is available in the world. And it is offered by the US department along with the local home countries department, university. Okay. Now, it is awarded to students who want to pursue a 2 year master's degree program in any of the US colleges or universities. Now, the interesting thing that you guys have to note about this is normally as an international student, you would go to the US, for example, on a F1 visa. which then makes you eligible for a bunch of different things, like for being able to go for internships, co-ops, working on campus, working off campus if possible, going into the job market and things like that. But if you are availing this Fulbright Nehru Scholarship, Nehru Fellowship, you will be going on a J1 visa, which means that you have to come back to India when your education is over. So this is something that you want to keep in mind. So if you are the person who does not want to go and settle in the US or work in the US, you just want to go get your education and come back, then this is definitely a scholarship that you should look at. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The other thing you have to keep, that it's very common that when students go to the US, if they are married or if they have a partner, they take their spouse with them. In such cases, the Fulbright scholarship does not cover the financial support for your dependents. Okay. Okay. The Richie Jennings Memorial Scholarship Program is another interesting scholarship program. If you have time and interest, do Google and find out the history behind it. It's a very interesting. Basically, this scholarship has been developed for students who want to work in the field of, who want to do studies in the field of fraud related programs. Okay, so cyber security, any internet related programs where you're talking about safety and those kind of things, that is where this scholarship program comes into handy. Now you have to realize that the amount given is not very huge. It ranges from $2,000 to $10,000, and it's directly paid to the recipient's university. So if you get admit and then your university's fee is whatever, a part of it will be covered by the scholarship based on what you are eligible for. Okay. Now, what you have to submit for this is an official completed application, an official transcript which shows your profile, which make this, and 2 letters of recommendation. Okay. Now, this again is a scholarship for Indian students, but it is something that is offered by the Indian government, and it is specifically for low income students belonging to scheduled caste. So based on your status, you may or may not be eligible for this scholarship. Now, the idea is that anybody who has this scholarship, and once they get a master's or a PhD degree, they will be able to come back and improve the economic and social status of the country. The interesting thing to note is 30% of these awards each year is specifically kept aside for women candidates. So we also want to promote women in the education fields. Okay. So the requirement is that you should have an offer from one of the top 500 universities in the world. So do note that this scholarship is something that you can apply for only after you have got an admit. And if you have got an admit from one of the top 500 universities, then you can apply for this scholarship. Okay. The Stanford Reliance Dhirubhai MBA Fellowship. So this is a MBA fellowship that is offered by the Reliance Group. Now, what you have to realize again is that this is a very competitive scholarship, and of course, getting an admit in at Stanford Business School is an extremely prestigious thing and a very difficult task. So if you have managed to get an admission at Stanford Business School for the 2-year business program, your estimated cost is going to be about $140,000. So in such cases, you can apply for this scholarship. And based on the number of applicants, they choose 50 finalists. And from that 50, they choose 5. And once you get that scholarship, you do have to come back. Okay. It's not a program. It's given to you under the assumption that you study there, you will come back, and then you'll use your education to develop other resources in our country. So that is the Stanford Reliance Dhirubhai MBA Fellowship. Okay. The Mahindra Scholarship is offered by the Mahindra Trust. Okay. Here you get interest-free loan scholarships to pursue your postgraduate degree. Again, this is an amount that will not cover your entire tuition, but any small amount will also help. Okay. So in this case, there are two types of scholarships that are offered. The top three selected candidates gets rupees 10 lakh per scholar, and the other successful applicants get rupees 5 lakhs. Okay. The eligibility criteria, you need to have a first class degree from your university. It has to be a recognized Indian universities. And you need to have an admit from one of the foreign universities, which is commencing in the fall intake. So then you are eligible to apply for this scholarship. Okay. The AAUW International Scholarships is applicable for everyone, not just for Indian students. But this is specifically for women. This particular scholarship that I am talking about is specifically for women pursuing full-time graduate studies or postdoctoral studies in the US. So students who want to, you know, women who want to study either master's or PhD can apply for this scholarship. You cannot be a US citizen or a permanent resident, but you have to return to your home country and then pursue a professional career if you avail this scholarship. Okay. The amount of money given is ranges between $20,000 to $50,000 per this. It entirely depends on your profile and based on what is approved for you. Okay. This is a special scholarship for UK universities. It is a fully funded UK scholarship for 1-year master's degree that is awarded by the UK universities. Now, I specifically haven't put the eligibility criteria here because it does seem to be varying every year. So you do want to check before you apply. Now, one of the important things is you have to submit a thoughtful application. What that means is you will have to have a letter of motivation or you'll have to have some kind of an essay that will demonstrate that you have what it takes to pursue a intense master's program in the UK. You also need to show that you have a very clear vision of the future. You need to show that you know what you're going to do after you get the master's degree. So this is one of those scholarships specifically if you're going to study in the UK. Okay. The Felix Scholarship is again a good scholarship, but it is only offered by these three universities. So if you are applying to any of these three universities and you have successfully received an admit, then you may be eligible for this scholarship also. So you can get information about this scholarship from the website itself. Okay. The France Excellence Charpak Master Scholarship is for studying a master's program in France. Okay. So it is designed for 1 to 2 years of studies in France at the master's degree level for any field of study. It does not have any restriction on what you can study. Now, you do have to note that it is not a complete fellowship. It's just a scholarship. So it will waive only some part of your fee. Okay. Now, this again is a great scholarship, India. Now, this is another scholarship which is specifically for Indian students, but this is a scholarship available from UK universities across various subjects. Okay. Now, the interesting thing you need to remember is for this scholarship, you have to apply via your university. So the universities that if you have shortlisted and you're applying to is one of the participating universities in this scholarship, then you can apply for the scholarship. Okay. So it doesn't mean that every university in UK is going to be a part of the scholarship. So this is something that you need to check on the university website. And every year they will update onto which universities are offering the scholarship or not. So please make sure you do that if you are applying to UK universities. The English language requirements need to be satisfied. Again, this is something like I told specifically previously that you have to show that you have the desired English language proficiency to be eligible for these scholarships. Hence, your TOEFL and IELTS plays a very important role here. Okay. This is a scholarship specifically for studying in Ireland. Now, I don't know if you guys are following, but recently Ireland has become one of the most wanted countries where Indian students are going to study their masters or bachelors or PhD degrees. And in this particular scholarship, they award over 60 scholarships each year, and it is specifically open to all students who are not in the EU countries. So it's not specific. The scholarship is awarded to anyone who is not in the EU countries and who has got an admit in Ireland. Now, what does it involve? It involves a full tuition waiver, which is very great, and it also gives you a yearly stipend of 10,000 euros. So if Ireland is one of your target countries, then this is a scholarship that you should definitely look into. Netherlands scholarship, again, this is for if you are planning to pursue a degree in Netherlands, then this is a scholarship that you can apply. Note that it is not a full tuition scholarship. It only awards 5,000 euros, but any amount will help. So you definitely should apply for it. Again, for this scholarship, the list of participating universities changes every year. So you want to make sure that your university that you are applying to or you're going to is a part of the scholarship. Okay, so that's all I have with respect to the scholarships. Like I said, there are many more scholarships out there, but I couldn't cover everything for lack of time. So do look into these things. And of course, if you enroll with us, we will help you out with the process. We can't do the application for you because all of these scholarships require you to apply, but we can definitely guide you with the supplemental documents and all that. Okay. Now, before we end the session and take your questions, I would also like to talk about a few of our students who have enrolled with us in the past and who have successfully got an RA or a T. I want to make it clear that it's not necessary that you will not get a scholarship. I have a few case studies here of varied profiles who have got an RA or a TA or a fellowship from their university. So while you can apply for external scholarships, you should also definitely keep your options for these assistantships from the universities you open, so that they help you with the program as well. So here we have Sabi. If you see that his overall GPA is quite less and his GRE score is 323, but he has done a number of projects in his related field, and he has gone for a PhD program at the University of Laval in Canada, and he has received a assistantship of 100,000 Canadian dollars. Another case I have is of Ananta Padmanabhan. He is from IIT Tirupati. Excellent GPA, average GRE score, average TOEFL score. But the interesting thing about his profile was he was a professor here in India. So when he went, even though he did not have a great TOEFL score, because of his teaching experience, he got into a master's program along with the teaching assistantship. Okay. I have Priyanka from BITS Pilani, excellent GPA. GRE score is also good, but she has gone to Imperial College in London and her GRE was not required. But since she was also applying to US University, she did write the GRE. She got into the MS program in nanomaterials with a fellowship of 55,000 pounds. Okay. Rishikesh from Mumbai has a degree in architecture. Good GPA score, average GRE, and good IELTS score. Went for his master's in electrical engineering. So even though he was changing his background from architecture to electrical engineering, he was able to prove, express in his SOPs and in his essays as to why he is making the change and how he is going to use architecture in a related field and things like that. So his essays were very impressive, which has landed him a admission in a very good university along with a scholarship. Okay. Simran had a bachelor's in bioinformatics, very good GPA, and she went for a master's program in computational systems biology along with a scholarship of $15,000. Now, it's not an entire scholarship, but it is a big chunk of the fee that was paid off for her. Okay. Akhil Patnam has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, a good GPA, good GRE score, and a good IELTS score. He went, he was in mechanical engineering, but he was also interested on the industrial engineering side, which is why he decided to go for a master's in supply chain and logistics. Again, he didn't get a full scholarship, but he got a partial scholarship of $14,000. Okay. So that's all I have. Let me go ahead and see if you guys have any questions for me. Okay, so Kaustubh has said suggest for first year BTech 2028. Um, okay, so if you're graduating only in 2028, this is the right time for you to start. What I would suggest you do is you first understand what you want to study. So it may be too early. Um, Maybe too early right now for you to decide which field you want to go into, but you can definitely explore. So what I would suggest is take the first year to understand what you really want to do. I mean, you haven't given me much information about what you're studying right now, so I can't give you very pointed information, pointed advice. But what I can suggest you do is understand your program, see if that is the program that you want to continue, maybe talk to the seniors in your university. And from the second year onwards, you have to start working on profile building, which means that you have to start going for applying for internships in your summers. If you have the one of the other best things that you could do is um, collaborate with a professor in your school, in your university, and try to see if you can work on any projects with him or her. So that will definitely give you a lot of exposure. Definitely projects in your summers. If you're able to get any of these international internships, many of these universities in the US offer these summer programs where they have students from studying abroad studying in engineering colleges in India, for example, where they invite them for 3 to 4 months and they give them a project in the summer. So this kind of exploring the having some international exposure with respect to internships will definitely add to your profile. If US is one of the countries that you intend to go to, you definitely should target writing the GRE. Now the GRE is valid for 5 years. So I would suggest that you start writing it, preparing for it in the second year and finish it off by the end of the second year or early third year. That way, you are done with it and you can focus on your program. So these are some of the things that you can do. Again, as you collaborate with professors and all that, it will be helpful if you are able to get some publications and so on. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. Again, my colleague has posted a profile evaluation form in the chat box. Do fill that out, because once you fill that out, we will ask you very specific questions on your profile and we will be able to give you more pointed feedback. Okay. Any scholarships available in Germany? Now, Germany is very competitive. The public universities, if you get admits into the public universities, the fee is very low anyway. Uh, so that way there you don't need any scholarships. Private universities, it's a little difficult to get any kind of scholarships as of now. That's what we have observed. They do offer, but it entirely depends on your profile. Now, external scholarships, again, you will have to look and see what the criteria are. It's not as easy as the other countries. Okay. So somebody has asked, are there opportunities to receive scholarships based on top performance on standardized tests, for example, GRE? There are, but it's not as much. The amounts are not as much. You may be able to get some other kind of benefits from there. Like for example, I know that if you're taking an educational loan, if you have an excellent GRE score, the interest rate is down. But as such, an entire scholarship based on a GRE score is not available. Okay. Somebody's asking, my GPA is 6.8 and I have done 2 projects. I want to pursue MS in petroleum engineering. GRE is two. Okay. So you definitely want to make sure that you try and retake the GRE, because for the engineering fields, the GRE requirement has come back. So you want to make sure that you if you can do retake the GRE. Your IELTS score is definitely good. The scholarship option will entirely depend on the type of universities that you apply to. Okay. Obviously, I think with the GPA, you will not be eligible for the top universities, but um, if you are able to apply to a good mix of, say, practical and safe universities, you will definitely get an admit. While you may not get a scholarship right away from here, but once you go to the university, after meeting the professors, you may be able to get a research assistantship. So that is an option that you can keep open. Okay. Somebody else has asked. So some of you are just pinging me your GPA scores. I think I will need much more information about the program that you have done, what you intend to do, which country you want to go to give you any specific advice. But the general thumb rule is you have to have a good GPA. So at least a 3.5 out of 4. And for CGPA, for out of 10, you need to have something in the higher range of 8 or 8 plus to even be eligible for some of the top universities. At least, while they may not say specifically on their website that this is the GPA that we want, but knowing the type of applications that they get every year, you have to make sure that you are also in the top range with respect to GPA. So all of you, I request you all to please fill the profile evaluation form. Only then we will be able to give you more specific advice. Otherwise, whatever advice I'm going to be giving you is going to be very general advice. Okay. Um, I'm just trying to look at some more questions. Okay, Debashish has asked me about examples from humanities. I don't have the examples handy, but if you do fill the form when we talk to you, we will be able to show you students who have gone into the humanities field. Okay. Um, Masters in mass comm and journalism, work 4 years. I am interested in both masters and PhD in development studies. Okay, great. Do you have any examples? Again, okay, so same question. Please do fill out the form and connect with us, because I think it's a very specific case. Since you already have a master's and want to go for a PhD, we'll have to do a little bit of more analysis to tell you what your options are. You also haven't told me which country, but we will be able to show you examples when we have a call with you. Okay. Sahil, do you have any questions pinged directly to you? I don't have any more questions. I think I've answered everything that came to me.
Yeah, everything is specific profile questions.
Okay.
So I would request everyone to fill up the profile evaluation form, which I've shared it to you. It won't take more than 5 minutes. So we have last 5 slots remaining, I guess. Yeah, we have last 5 slots remaining. So fill up as soon as possible. Our team will reach out to you quickly and all your doubts will be cleared.
And this call is free, so you don't have to worry about, any thing at that. I mean, we will give you a nice profile evaluation. We'll talk about your options, and we'll make sure that your questions are clarified. We'll also show you some examples on the types of profiles we have helped with specific to your case.
Also, our team will guide you through our portal how it looks and how easy it will be for you if you enroll with Galvanize. So I request everyone to fill up the profile evaluation form. This will be really helpful for you.
Yeah, I have one more question. I've got a 92 in TOEFL with 4 publications working as a lecturer. Um, yeah, your TOEFL score is okay. It's the basic requirement generally is 80. 92 is good. But if you want, I'm assuming since you already have a master's, you want to go for a PhD. In such a case, if you want to be eligible for a teaching assistantship, then 100 is recommended. But you can apply with this. You can also check the universities that you're applying to if they have a specific minimum requirement. But generally, 92 is a good score. Normally, we ask students to have at least 100, so that way it takes care of the top universities as well. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any more questions. So,
That's it.
yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much for attending the session. Please fill the form and we will reach out to you and answer your questions on a one-on-one call. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining today. I have again posted the profile evaluation link. I request everyone to fill up this and take advantage of this free profile evaluation call from top admission counselor at Galvanize Global Education. Until then, thank you. You can also subscribe my YouTube channel and watch the replay of this particular session available on our YouTube channel. You can search for Galvanize Global Education and you will find this video at the top. Thank you guys. Thank you so much once again.